Welcome, and thanks for your interest in Komatsu products. Today we're going to cover how to properly conduct a pre-operation inspection on an HM300 and HM400-3 or -5 articulated haul truck. Now the reason we do a pre-operation inspection is to quickly check the machine for any damage, excessive wear, or any leaks. Getting in the habit of doing these inspections will go a long way towards maximizing the longevity and the productivity of the machine. And remember, everything we cover today is also going to be included inside the operation and maintenance manual inside the cab. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So to get started, as we approach the machine, we want to ensure that there's nobody in the cab and that the machine has been shocked properly against movement. If everything's okay there, we can go ahead and start with our batteries. So what we're looking for here is to make sure that the batteries are securely in place and that all of our connection points don't have any excessive corrosion. It's also the location of your breakers and your main battery disconnect switch. So once we're done with the batteries, we're going to move on to our wheel inspection. What we're looking for here is to inspect the tire and the wheel to just make sure that there's no signs of damage. We also want to take a look at our wheel hardware and just make sure that all the lugs are in place and they appear to be tightened properly. From here, we want to go ahead and take a look at the sight glass, make sure that we have adequate levels of hydraulic fluid. Okay, so now that we've worked our way to the back side of the cab, there's quite a few inspection points in this part of the machine. So Komatsu recommends that we start at the top of the machine and just work our way down. So starting at the top of the cab, we want to check to make sure that the guarding is in place and that all of our brackets and bolts are in place. We want to check our hydraulic lines, make sure that we don't see any signs of leaks. So we're going to check our cylinder and the articulation joint. Let's make sure the pins are in place and everything seems to be receiving the proper amount of lubrication. So there's also a good opportunity to look underneath the machine to see if we notice any leaks. We also have two fluid level checks that we need to make in this spot. The first would be for the transmission fluid. And the second would be for the brake fluid. And finally, this is the location of the transmission fluid fill spot. Okay, so once we finish those inspections, we can simply just turn around, take a look at our lift cylinder mounting spot and our hydraulic lines. Just make sure everything's okay here. If everything checks out, we'll go ahead and squat down. This is a good spot to take a look at your brake housing and inspect it for any leaks. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just continue working our way around the machine. Go ahead and take a look at your mud flap and then ensure that your bed shims are in place. From here, we'll go ahead and follow that lift cylinder up, just ensure that the top level mounting spot is okay. And if the machine is equipped with a tailgate, you also want to go ahead and quickly inspect the mounting spot for the hardware. From here, we can go ahead and perform the same wheel inspection that we performed previously. If everything checks out, we'll go ahead and just continue our way to the back side of the machine. Okay, so as we work our way to the back side of the machine, the first thing that we're going to check is the underside of the bed. Just making sure there's not a buildup of material or anything that could fall on you while you perform your inspection. From here, you want to check your bed hinge pins, your lights, and your rear view camera. You want to go ahead and take a look at your wheels, your axle, and your cylinders. Just make sure that there's no signs of leaking. And then finally, what we'll do is take a look at our linkage, make sure that it looks good. So if everything looks good here, we can go ahead and continue our inspection on the right side of the truck. We're going to actually just perform the same inspection that we did on the other side. One additional inspection item would be to check the handrails and the mounting points on the back side of the cab. Okay, so continuing towards the front of the machine, we're going to have the location of the fuel fill spot. These machines utilize ultra-low sulfur diesel. We have the location of the DEF tank, which you can tell by the blue cap, which is also going to have a sight tube so you can check the DEF levels. And finally, you're going to have the location of the sediment drain for your fuel tank. Okay, from this position, it's a good opportunity to go ahead and take a step back and inspect the mirrors and the handrails on the right side of the cab. From there, we can go ahead and move to the front side of the machine. We got your air filter. Want to take a look at all the latches, make sure they're in place, and also got the location of your air restriction gauge. As we continue to work our way towards the front side of the truck, go ahead and take a look at all of our lights, our handrails, and our mirrors. You want to look at your radiators, make sure that there's no buildup or debris. It's also a good opportunity to take one final look underneath the front side of the machine and ensure that there's no leaks. And finally, we'll go ahead, work our way towards the cab, inspect our handrails and our mounting spots. If everything checks out, we can go ahead and start working our way up to the cab, making sure that we utilize proper mounting and dismounting technique. Okay, so now that we've accessed the machine, we can go ahead and open the hood and perform our engine inspection. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do once we get the hood open is just perform a visual inspection of the engine, making sure that we don't see any signs of leaks or any kind of debris. Okay, so you want to check your windshield wiper fluid and your engine coolant, just make sure that you've got adequate fluid levels. You want to check your fuel pre-filter. Make sure that there's not a buildup of contamination in the sediment bowl. You got the location of the engine oil dipstick. And then finally, do a visual inspection of your fan and your belts and just make sure there's no signs of excessive wear or damage. Okay, so once we finish the engine inspection, just close the hood, start working our way to the cab. Just point out the location of the hydraulic fill spot. And then one last inspection item would be to go ahead and check the exterior cab filter and just make sure that everything looks okay. If everything looks good there, we can go ahead and enter the cab and go operate.